and welcome to the Alchemist and the Oracle. This is our very first video, so we're just gonna fly with it. So the intro will likely change. So welcome to our channel. I am with the Alchemist. How do you want to introduce yourself?
Warrioress, Ardeshir. My given name is Tina Marie and my last name is Pierce, but I choose to go with my spiritual name.
She gave all the details.
Yeah, I'm a spiritual warrior trained by the Iyanla Vanzant, and my name means Great Warrior Eagle. So yeah, I stand in that.
I can't follow up from that. I'm the Oracle. I'm also a fellow spiritual warrior, which we'll get into a little bit later. Yeah. So we thought, since this is like the very first video on our channel, that you guys, whoever's watching this, will get a better understanding of who we are and just why we do what we do. So I'm gonna kick it to you, Warrioress, Ardeshir RN. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What is it that you do? Why do you do what you do? I mean, whatever you want people to know.
Yes, Warriors, Ardeshir RN, as I said. A lot of people know me by my given name. I'd have to say that I'm very thankful to be a spiritual warrior and had been, trained by our mentor together, and we'll get in how we met. And I just believe, like, where I've come from, growing up here on the northeast coast near the shores of Lake Erie, and going into the military had been a huge transformation. And even coming back, I'd say the biggest transformation came after my mother passed some 7.5 years ago. And the transformation that happened from them. So I'm here to awaken and uplift people so we can live better lives, especially mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, and being a spiritual alchemist, coaching and teaching, normally I'm just out and about meeting people and giving food for thought. And I receive food for thought back sometimes. So it's kind of one of those good things to do. And I like meeting people. So I see a lot going on. It's just about understanding and having shifts and energy. For me, one of the things that I didn't sit in was emotions. So there's certain emotions I didn't like. And I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I do this because when I'm talking to people and they have some aha moments when we're speaking, it's really cool that you get a smile from them and they see the shift and they see that just because what's going on in the world doesn't mean that you can't still live and be happy and achieve whatever it is that you want to be, because it's all about what comes from within and the healing that we need to do to transform and become who we're to be in this world before we leave it.
Okay.
So that's a little bit about what I do and where I'm from. We'll probably get into a little bit more of that. I'm from this, I call it the land. If y'all want to know, y'all can look it up. It's easy. You can Google the land and who coined our little term up here on Lake Erie. You can figure out the city I'm from.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll give a little bit more insight in terms of just more about you, because it's one of those questions that I find interesting to answer.
Yeah.
So yeah. So a little bit about myself is that I am an esthetician by trade. I have an interesting background. I really do. I'm an esthetician, as well as a health coach, and I'm a certified crystal practitioner. And so in a nutshell, I read energy. I help I don't even know if that's a appropriate word to say on here, but I work with energy.
It is. Yeah.
I'll say that. I work with energy. But what's interesting about me is that I have actually worked in the corporate sector in public health. You know, my degree is in business administration, focus on healthcare administration. So that kind of took me into one of those big government agencies that I know a lot of things that happen in the world. And that has compelled me to really shift into health coaching and working with my clients and people, friends, strange people that I don't know. That's what I mean by strangers. To just kind of help them to connect back to their own power and their own inner authority. I think we give a lot of that away outside of ourselves, and it all comes back to ourselves because no one knows us better than we know ourselves. But we have to get comfortable in being connected with how that is and trusting ourselves. So it's a process. So that's why I do what I do, and a little bit of the how.
Well, I ought to go. I think that's beautiful. If it wasn't for Miss, I got my first crystals. If it wasn't for becoming a spiritual warrior, I wouldn't have had any.
Yeah. Really? Oh, man, I love crystals. I've always loved playing with rocks and things like that. So I've always been kind of drawn to things of nature and by nature. So
yeah, I'm an earth sign. But now that you went deep, I think I need to give a little bit more background about myself because mine's pretty diverse too. Very diverse.
You said some things. I don't think you realize what you said about yourself, but okay, go ahead. What do you want to add to the conversation?
Because I've been around a lot of people, I've been a public servant.
What does
for most of my career.
What does that mean, public servant?
I've been a law enforcement officer.
And what else?
And United States Air Force.
Boom,
and
there it is.
United States Air Force, and I continued that in another federal government entity. Mm-hmm. I have a pretty diverse background in EEO counseling. Also, I'm very much an athlete. I'm very much into nutrition.
She said EEO. I know what that is.
I just been out talking to people all my life, and the good thing is my mouth was my best weapon. And some people can relate when you can relate to them from your heart and they understand that you care. So, seeing people, change, transform, again, having aha moments and me having my own is great. I have a dental med tech background, so smiling and having good teeth is so, and, just my whole family has served people. So, for my grandmother being a nurse, private duty, my mother driving, adult, mentally challenged adults who were just as brilliant, just differently so. And because we'll have some sensitive stuff that we'll talk about. And one of the reasons or several reasons will come up of why I went into the career. And I was hoping that people would get the service or help that they need, but I found out that's not the case. So, through education, through listening to people, through relating with people, I can see that some people want to listen and be better and do better and understand, that just because what's going on in the world or what's in their present moment doesn't always have to be, because we don't have to be a product from where we came, because we can choose to be better and more by just making a different shift in consciousness. And when we do that, we can choose to transform, like taking coal and turn it into a diamond, which is one of my favorite stones.
That's because you're an alchemist. Okay. I think we're good. I was laughing because my phone's not working for those watching this. as you know, Warrioress, someone was calling me on my iPad. It just kept going and going and going and going and going. I was like, wow, I didn't know that it rang that long. Thanks for the update. I think I find it interesting to hear where people have kind of have like that touch point, that connection to like a life experience. It gives you that point of reference and a perspective for sure. And I think, and this can kind of like maybe go into like our next point too, but I'm an Army brat. So I grew up in the Army. So I have that frame of reference. And I think on a very like unconscious level, me and you kind of connect in that way too, because we understand that world, and it is a world that's really kind of hard to like explain because you have to live it. But
it is.
But I'm pretty sure you have learned a lot by being exposed in that world too, that a lot of the general public aren't even aware of. But I think this is a great segue in terms of like, what is the point of this channel and us being in conversation as well. I think the point is to be in conversation. So how would you answer that question?
I think the channel is, I'm all about freedom and allowing people to open up and come in and chime in, and just kind of, like I said, food for thought to get people's brains and minds thinking about some of the things that we'll bring forward. And you mentioned it's just like my father being a vet. He never ever spoke about his experience. And he was around the, I don't know how this age me, but it depends on when people go in, but was around the Korean War time frame.
Yeah, that was
so
yeah.
Now I did serve in Korea. Now the conflict is still going on between North and South Korea. So you have the DMV and you have the line, but I'm not sure what those guys saw, and yeah, my father never spoke about it. And through my digging around and going through some things, I found pictures of them. But I think that the whole thing is about awakening, uplifting. Right now, the world is going through a lot of shifts, and there's you can see a lot of the anxiety and things that people are experiencing, and to have them come forth and understand or lift them up and just let them know that things are as they are to be, and that things will change, and that we just have to uplift our vibration. And we're here to help people uplift their vibration by what you do and what you know and what I know and how we've come together. Being a spiritual alchemist and you being the oracle, and what you know I know about you and the work that we've done together, much less how we came together, was so unique and really cool in of myself. I love you.
I know. We're literally, well, let's lean into that. How did we meet?
We met through Spiritual Warrior. I actually went through her initial
with Iyanla Vanzant. Let's put it
Iyanla Vanzant, Spiritual Warrior. Yep, I'm always gonna talk about Major E. So Iyanla Vanzant, I went through the live course, and I think we ended up meeting up on one of her other.
We did too. So you did the live, I think, a year before I did one. So it's spiritual 1 and 2. So we didn't know each other during that time. And you did. Were you in the first class?
I was. Yes, I'm one of the inaugural graduates of the live class. Yeah, from 2020. Matter of fact, we started on my grandmother's birthday, my mom's mom, June 15th. Ended on one of my best friends who recently passed, male friend I had grew up. My grandmothers used to live next to each other, and we ended on the 15th. We began on my grandma's birthday, ended on my best male friend growing up on the 26th of July, 2020. That's how, and I'm a numbers girl, so very unique, and got that experience. And Yeah, it was one of the unique experiences to wake up and have that, and what came forth was so crazy. And what it means, and then to know that I've always been that warrior. People throw that word out there, but I just don't like throwing that word out there, sitting in it and becoming in it and being in it. So you came around and she offered the self-study, which was
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
I did the
self-study in
self-study
2021, right?
during, see, it gets blurry. The dates get a little blurry because I think it was
Because I don't think she started it to
after
2021.
the lockdown, I think.
Well, we
The
did after
year after
lockdown,
the lockdown. Yeah, it was a year out.
2021.
Yeah, it was a year
You did
after.
2021 because
Yeah.
she needed some people. So we were kind of accountability type people who were in y'all space to kind of help y'all since they didn't do the live and y'all had the coaches. And I know everybody, we won't even talk about having a
That
tribe.
it's interesting. Yeah, that part. It's interesting. You did the live, and
Yes.
we've kind of had conversations about how the experience was different. And for me, I
Our self
probably
study's harder.
it was harder, but I recognized that I really needed to do it on my own because I I used to be a people pleaser. I used to care about what people said. I used to look at what other people were doing because I was caught up in the matrix. I was caught up in society saying, here's your list of things you need to check off and make sure that you're on track to be perceived as a contributing member of society of value, right? And so I needed to do that so I could sit with myself, and it was such a powerful practice and shift that I needed in that way. And that's why I think when you hear people say like the divine timing of things, trust the process, that was what I needed. I was open to it. And also how they say when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. That's
Yes.
how I got it.
Yes.
Because I had no awareness of spiritual warrior training one, the live one, and I've been following Iyanla since I was like in high school.
I wish.
High
I
school,
wish I had
college.
her.
Like I just remember her like I've been with her my entire adult life. She's always been like that person that I've had an awareness with and have had a heart, like a soul connection with.
Yeah, I knew about it. I didn't know how to contact, but they said everything is divine. I remember some things that she said and how people were talking about her, but I never knew how to get, even in the 90s, but I was fighting for my right to be this, got ill, dealt with some things at a very, very young age in my career, then trying to get my degree program, things of that nature. But I always knew about her. I just didn't know how to connect with her. But it was always there. But I put it on the board in 2019 and never
Really?
figured out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
crazy. And then it manifested the following year for you.
yeah, I believe that the ancestors and them they were like, well, there's a few others on there, but one of them has since crossed, so she's an ancestor of ours, and that's Cicely Tyson. I wanted to meet. And yeah, they brought it together in a way that I couldn't know. Then met her in 2021 at the Fixins thing. Then I traveled to meet other warriors in 2022, and then you did live SWIT 2 with us in 2022.
Yes, and I finally got a tribe.
Yes, you did. The love tribe.
I felt so alone. I felt so alone during that warrior self-paced one, but I think it was serving for those warriors because we have a different perspective in how we went about the first one. Because going into 2 was a whole different experience for me because it was just like, oh, this is what a tribe feels like. Okay. But that's how we met. And then we were both part of the Love Tribe, which I always thought, because my real last name is Love. Okay. Like I was born with this last name. I didn't give it to myself. Or maybe I did give it to myself because I chose to come down here as my last name being Love with my dad. But I always wondered, like, when they put people in the tribes, did they put me in the Love tribe because my last name was Love?
No,
I have that
spiritually
question.
done. It is spiritually done. And here's what went on. After my mother passed, 2017, I was going through this. I was doing some stuff with the VA and the grief, and I was kind of like, I done dealt with death all my life and all this. And I just was like, I done got through this all these years. But I ended up in the compassion tribe in live. And I had just had one of the providers that I chose to be would give me a book about compassion. I'm still trying to be more compassionate with myself, even though I'm in a spot to educate people in that. But still, it is a process to overcome things from your childhood and other things that you went, including that, because I don't like being sitting in, I'm getting better because of you from, what was it, last week, to sit in sadness. I don't like being sad and I don't like being angry. So we can get into that.
Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside
we
Out,
should
that
talk
movie.
You know what? I'm going to write that down. I think that would be a great topic to talk about sadness because I love sadness in Inside Out because she's sad because she loves so much. Like she's tapped into the love of those experiences.
I do get sad for other people, but I don't like being sad.
You don't like being sad? Well, we'll table that for another time.
We will. But yeah, Diva G actually, aka Coach Laura, that's now Diva G, Coach Diva G, mentioned that movie to me. And wanted me to get in it because I've done some extensive work with her, and then flew. But that's that whole thing right there. And but yeah, compassion. I went to the compassion tribe. It was just like crazy. So I'm telling you, spiritually done. She said it had nothing to do with it and how it was chosen. It was just perfect because it's trying to be compassionate. I'm still trying to do it, but it was so much to honor and to release and to grow into. Just like the energy that says I was stupid is like answering questions. I never liked to be questioned. And I think it came from something back in elementary school and how I was like dismissed, when it came to reading or some other stuff like that. But I'm brilliant, in and of itself, but you don't know that. It's just like going through college. I said something to a counselor and she went and looked on me. She's like, "You're getting A's and B's." She's like, I think she was confused about what I was saying to her about,
she was confused.
about I guess I received information or didn't. My counselor, yeah, she's like, "Well, you're getting A's and B's. Why don't you think, and I don't remember ever telling me that I'm not smart. It's just this thing that you pick up on how people are, because I realized that what is important to me in a paragraph, you might see something different in it, like reading a book. So the example is, so I don't confuse people, is that, we were chosen to have a paragraph that we were supposed to find out what the main idea of it was. So when I came up and thought about the main idea for me, raised my hand and the teacher say no, then everybody go, "Oh, I know." And then she go to the other person. I never know why they figured out why I didn't, whatever I said to her wasn't the main idea and they do it and I'm still clueless. So, it's like, and then you're just left hanging, so, I've come to the point. Yeah. So,
but the school system, the way they educate, quote unquote, I don't think it really educates. I think it either you have to get in line or you get left behind because it doesn't really allow the space for exploring how people process information, how there can be, you can see the same point at a different perspective. But if the teacher doesn't understand your perspective, then you're wrong. But it's just like, but that's not true.
Because, it came up in Swift one where I had messaged Diva G about, not answering questions and not doing the work. But I actually was doing the work because I was actually transforming. I was actually receiving stuff. And
what do you mean by that? Like you weren't doing what exactly?
Well, answering the questions, struggle answering some of the questions in the
in the
program.
forum, you weren't posting it for people to see?
Like answering the questions. So in ours, we had the notebook and we had the questions, throughout the week, because every week had a different thing. And I kind of like the live because it pushes you to do it. So you can get to where you need to be. Self-study was a push. Yes, you need to do this in 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a good thing. And then you carry on, because there's a lot of people, just to get off here real quick, who did not finish the course. So some of them, they didn't do it because life got in the way. And we cannot have life get in the way of the things that is meant for us to grow and do, because some seems to always get in the way. It's just like this year for me, and we can in that later of what happened. And obviously sometimes we push things when it's not meant to be for us. Then like this house searching thing, I don't even want to get into that. That was a mess. And then other things of that nature. And it's just like you said, there is timing. But when you want to shift and you need to make the shifts, everything will get in its way to interfere with you. And that's why I think live was great for most of us. And some of us are easily distracted. And I like the live because we just had to be there, in that point.
Yeah, I did see a lot of that, and I saw a lot of people frustrated that did the self-paced with me. They were frustrated because they didn't have that. I don't want to say community, because the community was there.
Yeah, because I tried to get in. A lot of us was trying to get in there.
Here's the thing: I feel like
support y'all.
You guys did, and I didn't tap into that because I received my directive as, you need to focus on doing it for you, committing to it, and standing in what the intention you have identified for yourself is for you to move through this program. And that's why I said I see the gift of that. And I've had a couple conversations with other people that did the self-pace, and they said that what they got from it was it was a challenge. Like it was a different challenge doing the live versus the self-paced. Yeah. And they both are very serving. But the challenge with the self-paced spiritual warrior training is that you have to be accountable for yourself.
Yes.
You don't have a tribe to have your back per se. And I think it taught me a level of confidence with myself. It taught me, like, you learn those principles on such a nuanced level that just hits a little bit different with the live. But the live is a whole nother different beast in itself, because you have that face to face, like you have like the captain. Okay, what you got going on? What's going on? And so it's like you're fully seen in that way. And so it's a different type of mirroring that goes with those two different practices. But I think what you're saying is also important as well, is that sometimes we want to do change. We want to like make shifts. And I think I always try to remind people to be patient with yourself, right? Like you're doing something new. You're doing something new. And it's important to just sit with yourself and be honest. Like, did I take on too much? And sometimes we take on so much, or I feel like divine timing is always what it should be. Sometimes you come to that and you realize, okay, I thought this is what I thought I needed to do the work. And it may pivot you away towards something else, but that was still serving. And I think I've learned to be much more compassionate and to change and shift the perspective and stop beating yourself up if you've done all these programs and you don't get through them. But there's something that you got out of it. Maybe it's
that right there,
that this is just not meant for me at this time in the way that maybe I was thinking that I should receive. But you always receive something.
That's true, because I have some programs that I initiated and got through, and I have to look at it like that too. Yeah. And I definitely and it comes up in conversation. So that's where I guess the grace you have to give yourself is that you are growing, you are transforming. You just have to honor that's the case. And the thing with the questions was, and then, man, this is a whole nother story about when Diva G was saying to me what she was saying to me, and then said, forgive all the people who ever said you were stupid. Now, I don't remember anybody ever saying that, but the inkling may have came out that way because I was like, I don't even know if I want to use the term like a black sheep in my block or whatever, because I really liked education. And even now that my mother and grandma and them crossed, they understand who I was as a child now that they crossed the divine realm. And that's something else I'll talk about. But and what you know that I have written in my higher guidance. And so it's really, really cool. So it's like, well, forgive all those people. And all of a sudden my ego went, we're going to talk about the ego too. It's like, oh, you ain't stupid. She didn't call me stupid, but my ego like, I ain't stupid. And Major came on. This was, like I said, live was something else because she did something in the middle of our week to have everybody come on who was kind of challenged or had some things going on, and you could ask a question and things of that nature to help you get more perspective on you know what was going on, how you becoming, how you was going to stand and step into this spiritual warriorship. And I haven't took it for granted. I ain't play. I'm a warrior. Oh,
that's you. I mean, literally, you embody it fully. It just in your little box right there. It's embodied fully. You got a warrior right behind you.
Yeah.
But I think that because, like, if you look at me, I have a completely different outward integration embodiment, and I think that's what I appreciated too, and I found really helpful in being in the tribe, because so the tribe we were part of was a love tribe and had different people, different expressions. And I just love to see just a mix of different people coming together under that that tribe of love. And I think the point I think that's trying to be expressed through me is that you have to be comfortable with how that feels for you and how you're called to express it.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw like that was a bit of the challenge that some people had too, is like, what does a spiritual warrior mean for you? How does that embodiment look for you? And I don't think it's like one specific way. You have to figure out how that feels into your body and makes sense as you see it for your life. Because it's based on your perspective, like what you're called to do.
And my whole thing in Sydney is not to go backwards. I come too far to go backwards. So when you look at, so let me use the example. Let's look at the example of how a diamond becomes to get a diamond. You know, it's through pressure. And once a diamond is a diamond, it's hard to go back to where it comes from. And so that's a lot to try to go back after you've grown. And that's why your what do they call it? Your circle. But there's another word for it, the circle that you're in, the people that you're around, and this and that has to shift. Like some people say, even in alcoholism, you have to change your playground.
Yeah.
You have to change your playground. And it's hard to stay in the same playground because not everybody will understand you because you've grown or you've shifted or you are in the process of transforming. Because I think up until the day that we die, learning and growing and knowing, we're always transforming. We have to understand that and be okay with that level, because if we want to be anew, we have to be okay. And some people we might not be able to be in proximity with. It ain't that you love them, but you definitely have to move on and become the person, that you're being told to be. And sometimes we resist. We resist that.
Yeah.
We resist that now. We resist that move. But I mean, I can't go back to 4 years ago. I can't go back to 2. And I still had some frustrations with the energy of a family member. And I realized that what's going on with them ain't mine to carry. It's nothing I can do in that energy, but I have to know who I am. And so what they say, like somebody calling me a liar, come out of my face. And it's like, why the hell would I lie to you? You know, why would I tell you something that is not? And so as Major says, Iyanla, and thank God I can say her name. I had to tell somebody you had to let the Y go to say Iyanla. And it's like, if it isn't true, and this is my ending now, what she said, if it ain't true about you, and there's something that comes up even on if it ain't true about you, why do you care? So I say, if it ain't true about me, why do I care? That's a shift.
Ooh, that's a big shift, though. That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I celebrate you. Should I do a reaction with the balloons coming up?
I like reactions.
Is it this?
I like reactions.
I don't remember which one it is.
I don't know. Can I do reactions? Like, hey, let me see. I don't know. Here you go.
Well, I'm supposed to be celebrating you.
Okay.
Anyway, we're getting focused. My squirrel syndrome is kicking in.
It's all good.
But
so I'm just saying, you know.
So we met. I kind of want to talk a little. So the spiritual warrior training program that we went through was through Iyanla Vanzant. I want to make sure that we make that very clear.
Yes, and I do believe self-study is still available.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's Iyanla.com. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll try to put, I mean, we'll probably have her link in all of these because
yes,
talking about some capacity. But so it's through Iyanla Vanzant. And it's for spiritual warrior training. There's level 1 and there's level 2. Level 1 is, I mean, I don't even know how to distinguish them. So there's readings that are involved. There's morning and night practices, meditation. And at the heart of it all is sitting with yourself.
Yes.
So we are going to talk a little bit about spirituality, which we already kind of have been, because that's the whole point of the spiritual warriorness. What does a warrior mean for you, like as you see it?
It's standing in the truth, in the truth of who you are. But also spirituality has to do with finding, meaning and purpose and connecting to something higher than you, because there is something much higher than yourself. I mean, people used to say I had an old soul, so it's not like I haven't been around. Most people won't see because they think there's only one life. And I have several movies that I love, and one of them is and I'm like, we should live as heavens on earth as we figured out. It's like, why do we wait? We're in body now. So one of my movies, I would have to say The Shack, Soul, the animated version, and a true story out of a state that I used to live in, Nebraska, which is Heaven's Real from Nebraska, but it's kind of the truth. And the only way I look at that is when my mother crossed, she went to a younger version of herself. So her soul reverts back to the younger version. And I just think it's just tapping into the essence of who you are. In order to do that, even though I'm not good at sitting still, I'm gonna keep it real. So I have to forcibly allow myself to sit still or get into a reading or the writing. And I think journaling is another thing that I share with people as I help people shift as a spiritual alchemist coach. And renewing who you are. So there's definitely something higher. And if you can tap in, and intuition is something, the difference between intuition, I can't stand when it don't come to you like that. We'll talk about intuition. Is one of those things that tap in, that's a guiding force for you. And I use driving as examples because it's an inkling. It comes to you like this. If you're going to make a left-hand turn and someone says, no, you don't want to do that, you'll let the ego come in and say, oh, yeah, I can do it. Then you're in an accident. or when something tells you to go a different way. And I have a perfect example because I didn't purposely ignore it, but I was like, oh, it's going to be all right, go this way. I end up running into somebody that wasn't AF. And then I end up getting delayed for an hour because I didn't get off on that exit. And I just would have had to take the back way to my place to get where I needed to go. And so it's these little things. And so it's connecting to that higher version or that higher self, or to, you know, your inner self. And to me, being a warrior is is to stand firm in that, to continue to grow, to continue to know, to sit still and receive uh, from my ancestors and the creators and some of the spiritual messengers that I get. And, you know, I'm a big numbers girl. So it's to bring an inner peace, inner connection, because if you're in chaos, then you're not in inner peace. You're not centered. Anxiety is another thing that you have to get because you're trying to be in control of something that you necessarily can't be in control of. It's just like the one quote that they use is like, you know, Dag, I should be able to spit that one out. So, but basically, it's about control, you know, what you can control, control what you can't, let it go.
Yeah.
It's just connecting beyond and connecting in nature and spirit. It's just like I love the lake. We have the whole big body, and I grew up, and when I was younger, I used to sit on there and dream in the lake. It was so peaceful. You know, one of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. And then I love the ocean. The ocean has a whole different embodiment when you just sit there and get it and look, especially because most of our oceans are, you know, in sunshiny states, where our Great Lakes are in, you know, the diverse of the winter of the different seasons that we go through. And so
they're more contained, and the ocean's more open. The energy is just different as well too.
I see birds, I have certain things that come up. So once you start to connect with that, you'll start having things show up. You'll start seeing, you know, repetitiveness, and just know that you'll start to find a peace and an inner, and how you walk in the world will be so much differently as well. The energy shifts. It's just like driving. I realized that there's an energy, and being so empathic, the energy in the city where I'm at, I used to notice my demeanor change when I came into the city from the outskirts. That wasn't no joke.
Do you ever notice, and I'm good at checking myself, like the other day I was getting in the car and I just started cracking up. And I know the people were like, what's she laughing at? I want to laugh like that. When you get in the car and it's like I get aggressive really quickly. Like, because so I'm in Atlanta for context. So the energy is very aggressive. It's aggressive energy. And so I got in the car and I was just like, all of a sudden I was just like tensed up, and I was like, girl, why are you driving so fast? You're literally going like right up the street. Like, relax your grip, roll your shoulders back. And I wouldn't have the capacity to tap in that way had I not done the work, have I not have a consistent practice in connecting with God. That's how I choose to call it. I don't think the name matters so much. I think we get so caught up in the name, like, oh my gosh.
Creator source.
I think it highlights how we have an identification challenge here in the world, this need to identify. And when you have a spiritual practice, you start to realize that identification process or practice or focus is an indication that you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
You're not in that flow state. But do you ever notice when you get in the car, maybe you're better at this, like where you just feel like your energy kind of shift? Or is that just a very Nicole thing, who's a very aggressive driver?
No, like I told you, I have to contain myself, and for reference, if nobody's figured out
okay. So she's saying yes too. Okay.
If you don't figure out the context in the city which I'm in, I've already gave it up.
Oh, you told them to do the search. It'll come out.
Yeah, they could do the search, the land.
The land. Yeah.
I'm in the land. And
it is a level of the energy is different in the city, because it requires a certain energy of you to be in that space. And I think I'm learning to be in spaces where I don't feel so compelled to like adjust to that energy, but to stay within my energy. And that's where the power is. That's the power in the of having a spiritual practice that you do, not just in the morning or at night. This is like consistent.
Yeah, like throughout the day.
Like you really are very grounded and mindful of your energy. And that was the gifting of the spiritual warrior 1 and 2 levels. It held us accountable for our actions. You know, we read some amazing books. I think one of my favorite book is The Way of Mastery. Like the one quote, I think you might know the one quote that I love is like, you don't get to leave the room when the shouting starts.
Yeah, that's major is one of the big things that she said. Yeah.
I mean, that in that section in the book, when you read it, I just weep every time I read it. Every time I read it, because it's just this reminder that for me, how I perceive that statement as meaning that the shouting is the realization that you're the one that is actually doing the shouting, and that, hey, guess what? You can actually stop shouting if you choose to.
Yeah.
You get to choose to not be in the chaos. You get to choose to adjust what is in the room to begin with. But when you first go into that room, it's like, oh, damn, okay. I'm the one that threw the paint on the wall here. I'm the one that tore up the couch. I'm the one that's like playing the loud music that's like shaking the ceiling. And I'm the one that has the dog that's barking incessantly. Like,
right.
It's all me. And I don't get to leave the room, because the room is your life. That's what the room is. The room is your life. You don't get to check out of your life. We do it. I've done it, but you also get to choose to be in a greater sense of peace and calm. And that has been the greatest gift of spiritual warrior training.
And spiritual warrior training too. So if y'all hear me say majors, because of how it was set up based off of tribal and samurai warriors. And Iya was major, and the rest of us was troops, and we had captains. And it was awesome. And Warrior 2 was deep. I finally, sometime this year, I think I told you, I finally got my foot on the other side of the line, and in stepping into the anew, because of some readings that we have in a poem that I wrote, that someone is asking me to do on IG. I copyrighted Today I Die, has a lot to do with transformation and what I guess my spirit had called for me. And getting into the warrior stuff was doing, when you talk about energy, if we come in tune, and you'll be aware when it shifts. Like I said, coming from the outskirts of town, or even when I lived in Nebraska, I was on the outskirts of the big city, or the main city there, which is Omaha, where Mr. Warren Buffett is. And being out there where it was kind of quiet, and then going to the city and doing that, it was just different than coming in. And like I said, when I come off the interstate, because I had to store and put some things on the outskirts for my mother, because there was a lot of stuff out there in my legal residence. So I had to come, and do what I needed to do. So when I come in, I noticed that my demeanor, my face would shift when I got on this one road. We have a main drag here, in Cleveland. We have a whole bunch of suburbs, a whole bunch of heights. I think we're the only one that have as many heights, this heights and this heights, Warrensville Heights, and Shaker Heights, and this and that. So I probably just gave it up right there because a lot of people know Shaker. I just gave it
Shaker up. Heights gave it away.
Yeah, my bad. No, anyway, there'll probably be some people who won't
if
know.
If you've made it this far, shout out to you.
Yeah,
you already know. You're in the circle.
So my energy shifted. So I was picking up on all the negativity or just the pain or whatever I was feeling or shifting and just the people and getting in here because of the way they drive. And and I mean, you have to watch it. There's people driving around here with no insurance. People are just going in front of you. They're going nowhere just to stop at a light. Now people are running red lights and stop signs like they don't exist, and it's dangerous. And so when you pick up, and then I'm like shifting my energy to connect with theirs, and I didn't like that feeling. So it took a minute to understand that once you get into that, you would notice that. And then that's when you arm up shift, and I'm like, go woosah, you have to get rid of that so I can come in and still be the essence that I choose to be in my body because of the impactedness, because there's so much discord going on within people, and I pick up on that, and it's so thick. And so, and it's like my shift is like I gotta be in this state of mind where I gotta protect myself. I'm already protected, so I don't need to be in that energy mode. But yeah, I was very aware of it. There's a main drag, and I had noticed it. And so now when I come in, I'm cool. Or sometime before I get in the car, I have a little thing where I have to talk. Now maybe some people hopefully will recognize that, and then you need to make the shift so you can go into wherever you are as the essence and the love that you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, going from compassion to love. We are all about love. And I think that I want to bring a guest who actually is a big person around love. They are a spiritual warrior. I've known them from Nebraska. And so they all about the love thing. So be great to come that in, because people's like, what is love? Love is deep within here. And you can love somebody. Everybody get everything twisted, not to get off kilter here, get things twisted about what love is. And they all take it to a point that they don't need to take it. Because love ain't always about sex. I'm just going to put it out there because I was going to hold back, but screw this. Love is not. But people think if I say I love you, people think you want to get with somebody. I love you because you exist in the world. It can be. Not. So we need to have somebody get in there, because people are like, what is love? Get in there. What is love? Wait, okay, my mind went dirty. See, you ain't right. See, this is all about making a shift. Making a shift. Get the hell out the world. No, it is. I mean, I'm transformed. The Alchemist. I mean, yeah. I both of them at the same time. I love that. The alchemy of love and sex. Like, it's a novel concept. They can exist together and not have to be. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think I see love, like, I think because I work a lot with like friends, I always think of, because you can love someone. Like, prime example, I was talking to a friend of my brother's, and he's a male, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he was like, when we said goodbye, he's like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. And someone else overheard me tell him that, and they were like, well, they sexualized it. Exactly. Right? They sexualized it, and it was like, oh, well, he's probably trying to get with you. That's what he means by that. I was like, no, it's not that. And I called my brother back, right? I called my brother. I was like, hey, you heard me tell him that. You heard him say that to me. What did you think? He was like, what do you mean? Like, he wasn't even thinking that, because he knows that our relationship is very much like, he looks at me like a sister. At level. And I'm not going to say the person that has said this before,
But this whole idea that men can't be in friendship with women, I think that says more
That's
about
a
the
whole
person that
huge
says that. And he says that
Yeah.
a lot. You know who I'm talking about. He says that all the time, and I'm like, that's not true. But for me, because I'm very aware, I read between the lines. Okay, that is
You're talking
like
about Mr. H.
we don't
HY that's originally from
we
you.
don't even
Okay,
need
no
to say,
problem. We don't need to say the
don't
name. Okay,
say
that's
that.
right.
Okay,
I won't say it. Don't nobody know who's
only for entertainment purposes only. Um,
For real. Right.
But it said more when I heard because he used to say it all the time, and I'm like, that says more about you in terms of how you have the capacity to relate and be in relationship with women. Because it's not all sexual. Does my brother have some friends that would like to have sex with me? Sure.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole conversation in and of itself too, because I mean,
but anyway, that's an
yeah,
interesting way to kind of get towards the end of our conversation.
I know.
But yeah, I think love is your soul. That's how I see it. Like your love is connected to your heart.
Yes.
And it means different things to how you see the world based on how you live from your heart.
Yeah, most people have defined it by the way society has come up for the reason why somebody would go straight to sex. I
Straight to
mean,
sex. Yeah.
because everybody has somebody that they has a type. And and I think some of us settle outside our type of person because all of us have a certain type, and sometimes it's better to be friends. It's probably could be a better relationship. Not
So you're
everybody
saying you have
should
a
be in
type?
relationship with.
You have a type what of person that you love
Would
or
be attracted to.
attracted to?
Mhm.
Agree. And I think some level is for some people. I think it just depends on what you find attractive initially. For some people, it is appearance. I think a lot
That's
of
the first
the time it's
draw.
it's the only thing we have to go on before you just see the person. I can read people's energy a little bit differently, so I don't I don't see people in the traditional way that other people see them. But for
That's the
me,
oracle. Yep. That's
yeah,
the oracle
so
that you see, the
yeah, that's
aura
I can't
around.
help. I'm really good at
I
reading
pick up a
people.
little bit.
You
Yeah, I
pick
try
up
to
on a
connect
lot
with the
more than
heart.
you realize.
Yeah.
But you are trying to alchemize things. You're like, okay, see these two things going on. How can we alchemize them as for the greatest good of all, right? I think that's a beautiful perspective to have in how you relate to people and how you take in people. Because you are compassionate. Because I was listening to you talking about like the compassion tribe. It makes sense why you would be there. You are so free and open. You give compassion to other people so easily. I think and also too, like for me, I didn't have a tribe. I was in the me tribe the first round. That's what we kind of like the little small group. We were like, yeah, we in the tribe of me. But doing the love tribe, being in the love tribe, I realized like I give so freely, so loving. I'm a naturally loving person. My challenge, my Achilles heel is loving myself.
That was why compassion was chosen, because I need to be more compassionate to myself because I give it too much. So I mean, not give it too much, but so much to others.
To other people, and you don't give it to yourself first.
I wasn't giving it myself. That's why I came
I
up,
realized
and
you gotta give it to yourself first.
That's why the provider gave me the book.
What's the book?
And then what was so weird is it's called Compassion. Where is it? I hope I gotta get my books back out here.
Oh gosh, she walked off the set, y'all. She's new to this process.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
You come back in the She literally thought we were just having a conversation, me and her, and just forgot we were recording to be posted online
it's
for
called
the entire world to see.
I sure did. Oops. It's called the Compassion Book. That's what it's called. And it ain't over there. I just remember. So, and then for me to be more compassionate, to myself. And so, yeah, and then love, obviously, to love myself better because I love everybody. If you exist and breathe, I don't know you any other way now unless you choose something that I can love you. I just might not be able to be around you. So, and then people, then there's a whole difference between what it is to like somebody and to love somebody. And I told somebody, well, you might need to like them first, but as a nation, as a whole, because you exist, because you are in this world, you are love. When you were created, in the essence of love from your creator, exiting, the partnership that brought you to between your parents or that, because obviously somebody had you, so they were actually a parent, or whether they became one is a whole different story, but you are here based upon that. So, but yes, indeedy. Well,
guess
been
what?
around people.
Come to the end of this. So this particular episode. So what's the takeaway for you today as we wrap up? Or something you want to share?
I would just like people to get to know themselves. Something came up here recently about getting to know who you are. Get to know the you, the essence. Get to take some time, because I do know even 2020 was a perfect example of how people didn't know who they were, even when they were married in relationships. That they couldn't be in a space because they didn't know. You need to know who you are. Get to know that so you can step into whoever it is that you desire to be in this world. And know that it will take a little bit of time, it will take a little bit of effort, and that you're worth it, that you're worth. Change is inevitable. I didn't like change when I was younger because I thought things were so cool and are so good. And I had to embrace change. So embracing change, be that person that embrace change, because change is inevitable. It's just happening whether we receive it or not. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. Change is our birthright. Is we're born, and the gift of being born is the gift of death, and we get to that. And I look at death very differently. I know a lot of people may think it's morbid. I think death is a gift.
About that too later. We could talk about
death
that.
Death is a gift that God gives us. It's the reminder that we get to come back to Him. And I mean, that's such a beautiful reminder. It's like, okay, but it's the change that happens to you to get to that point where you go back to God. So I really think about that is how do you get into a greater sense of flow and allowance and surrender in the change, because it's happening. And I always look at change as you have two options with change: go with the flow or be forced and dragged and pulled apart, because we still going this way. So do you go with no bruises, with all your limbs and your hair intact, or are you going to be pulled very aggressively towards where we're going?
Yeah.
That's the choice.
I think what is one of the quotes that I come up with is you have a choice to change. Change is a choice. And like you said, to choose it, you either can go dragging and screaming, which is even more painfully than going in the flow, which is just smooth sailing in increments, and know that as we age, we change. So how we change is like, how I say, it's not that we're going to leave body, but how you want to live in it till you leave it.
Mm. It reminds me of something. I was just doing a reading the other day for a client, and I like to kind of pull crystals to kind of get messages from crystals. And one of the crystals, can't remember the crystal offhand, but I remember it saying about it brings about a level of self mastery when it comes to understanding the mastery of control is only within yourself.
Yeah.
So, how do you control yourself and get to a place of mastery with that? And I think it goes back to what we've been talking about this entire conversation is, and what I feel is, was the gift of going through the spiritual warrior program, as well as being compelled to sit here and put this out too, is helping people get to a level of self-awareness, towards self-acceptance, towards self-mastery, and understanding that the only thing you can control is yourself.
Yes.
That's it. When you get to that place of understanding, you start to just kind of relax a lot more in your life. I feel like that's the point of spirituality. I think that's the whole point of the experiences that we go through here on earth, and how we relate to other people as well. But it's not meant to be scary either. I think it's also like finding the beauty and the paradox of the world that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for being in conversation with me.
Hey, girl, you know how we roll.
I know. I have to cut it off here. We'll be talking 5 hours later, but that's okay.
No.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching.
Appreciate y'all.
If you like the conversation, you want to be in conversation with us, be sure to subscribe to The Alchemist and The Oracle. And I just realized I don't think I ever said my name. My name is Nicole, Nick Love. I'm the Oracle, and this is The Alchemist, known as, I'm gonna let her say her name because it's a mouthful.
Warrioress, Ardeshir.
There we go. And we're out.
Peace.